Hello, everyone. Whoa, the tree is closer to me than it appears. We are here to, let's be real. If you're watching the replay of this, um, you completely missed the point of why I'm doing this in the moment. And that's that I want to talk to you guys to help pass the time before the Nintendo Direct, but I don't necessarily mean that in a selfish way. I also mean it in, okay, let's hear what you guys have to say about it. I'm pretty separated from people's opinions of directs. Like I typically don't try to entertain rumors. I don't like to entertain leaks. No matter how appealing they sound, I don't believe them until Nintendo themselves announces them. Because you want to know one of the most insane rumors that ended up not being true for a good 10 years or so. There was a rumor for a Star Fox Grand Prix game that never ended up happening. So that's why you don't get your hype up when it comes to these things. Realize that Nintendo Directs are not catered to you. They are catered to what Nintendo considers the broadest possible reach of people that are going to buy their products on their system so that they get a share of the money even if the third parties are there. So I highly doubt that they would necessarily announce something that you like if they don't think it's going to make them a profit. Although, to be fair, they took a gamble with another code, Recollection. So I may have loved Trace Memory, but there was only one other person that I know of who has played that game. So niche appeal is definitely something that I think Nintendo is realizing has potential. And so for those audiences, I think deep down inside, they're trying to channel Satoru Iwata's spirit. Because Satoru Iwata, the whole reasoning behind when he was marketing the Wii was we're going to do what's called blue ocean strategy. And to put that in concrete terms, appeal to an audience that doesn't exist. But when it does exist, it'll make a better profit in the long term. And it worked. And then they tried it again with the Wii U, and it destroyed them. So I think with the Switch, they weren't trying to appeal to an audience that didn't exist, but rather they were trying to win back those that they lost from the Wii U generation, and I think it was effective. And now with the Switch 2, you know what? I'm not even going to get into everyone else's problems. For me personally, I love the Switch 2. There's only really two things I don't like about them. Uh, I don't like the Joy-Cons, obviously, and the internet connectivity is trash. Yo, it's Kevin. Hey, welcome in. What's going on? Did you not read the title for this? There you go. Okay, a bit of a delayed reaction there. That's what's going on. That and there's something that just came up, but I forgot it. I'm on chapter 9 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, if that counts. Any thoughts or predictions? So, if you've ever seen me interact with any live stream in which Jevel's here, you'll know that he's more of the predictor guy, and I'm more of the here's what I want to show up, but whether it will or not, I don't know. But as far as what I think will show up, I think they're going to show some release dates. I think that's my biggest prediction. The thing that I can be 99% certain of is they're probably going to say, okay, here's when Danganronpa 2x2 is going to come out. Here's when Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is going to come out. Jungle Running's back. Hope you're finished running and you can just sit down and relax and enjoy a direct discussion. Hey, if this direct stuff gets to be too tiring, you can always interrupt me. I can go from one person to another, but welcome in. You got any good news or things you're excited about besides the direct? And if the direct is the only thing, what a place to do it. As far as what I would like to appear in the direct, that I'm not predicting, this is just me being selfish. I would love to see a new Zero Escape 4. Highly doubt that'll ever happen, but as a compromise, if that studio, either Spike Chunsoft or Tokyo Games, makes something else, like maybe it's a second Master Detective Archives game. Yo, it's Hallelujah! It is so surreal seeing you here again after I met you at Catholic Creator Conference. That is so wild. But glad you could make it in, Haley. I know you're not Oh, it's Monday. That's a real shame. I hope I hope you're able to look forward to the end of Friday and that can help you get through the week. But thank you for all of the help that you did at the Catholic Creator Conference. Honestly, I don't think I would have talked to half of the people there if it if it weren't for you. My shirt says Tuesday. Yeah, I typically like to wear my shirts for 2 days in a row, and I like to wear shirts that I think will get most people comfortable to talk to me when I go to the gym. So I figured a lot of people would want to a lot of people would want to say, "Hey, it's Monday. Why are you wearing a Taco Tuesday shirt on Tuesday?" And that would like start conversations. And it did. I was right. There was a guy that talked to me today that said, "Oh, I love the colors on your shirt. It reminds me of Halloween." So there you go. Now I just made a connection by just wearing a mission trip shirt. All right, I missed a couple of things here. Let's see. A new Animal Crossing game is coming. Okay. I wouldn't put it past Nintendo, honestly. Because if you look at the release strategy in the past, um, the original Animal Crossing came out in 2001, and I'm talking about the Nintendo 64 version. And then E Plus and all those crazy expansions were like 2002, 2003 ish. And then I got you too, Haley. Yeah. Yeah, I've been known to do that, getting people to have the wrong day of the week. I'm pretty sure I got the manager doing that at the gym too, because I saw that she was carrying a really heavy uh like a Ghostbusters vacuum to clean up the gym. And I said, "You going to the chiropractor soon?" And she said, "Yeah, that's next Tuesday." And I said, "Oh, you mean tomorrow?" And she's like, "Oh, right, it's Monday." And I think she thought that because of my T-shirt, even though she should know her days at the gym are Mondays and Wednesdays. Graylee, welcome in. If I'm not mistaken, you said your name was Connor, correct? What's going on is the Nintendo Direct is going on tomorrow, and yours truly is pumped about it. Haley, I know you're not much of a gamer, so if you want to talk about something else, feel free to derail the conversation. We can totally talk about multiple things at once. You retain me in my prayers, thank you. Oh, that means a lot to me. I actually went to a priest's very first mass yesterday, and apparently that was one of the conditions for having a plenary indulgence is receiving a blessing from a priest within his first year of ordination. I'm pretty sure the only step left that I'm missing for that indulgence is going to reconciliation. Except that I have no idea what sins to confess because you don't technically have to confess venial sins, and you also are forgiven of any venial sins if you receive the Eucharist. So I'll have to look into that to see if there's like a loophole for people that aren't in a state of mortal sin, or at least I hope not. If I am so sorry, God, but I don't think I am. We're about to have a first mass by a priest pretty soon. Oh, nice. Very nice. I hope that goes well. I Let me get back to Kevin's question earlier because I think I got a little bit sidetracked. Did not expect to be so popular today, so I really appreciate you guys coming in. Wait, did that just get deleted? Uh oh. Uh oh. I think it did. Oh no, 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 never mind. There we go. I just had a dyslexic moment. Sometimes it feels bad when you can't. Yeah, yeah. Like, what would you do when you go into the confessional? Say, "Father, I have not sinned. I'm just here for the plenary indulgence." Like, you wonder what the priest has to say to that. So I don't know. I'll have to think about that. But at least I have 19 days now to think about it. So back to Kevin's question. What are my wishes for the Nintendo Direct? Zero Escape 4 or anything from that studio. So like Master Detective Archives 2, release date for Danganronpa 2, more 100-line stuff. Um, I would love to see a new Ace Attorney. Obviously, I'm a diehard Ace Attorney fan. Played every single one of them at this point. Not every version of every single one of them. That would have been a nightmare. But I did get to play a couple of the WiiWare versions, which are no longer available. But to be fair, there's really nothing about them that are unique. And I just want to see more release dates for stuff like Danganronpa 2x2, Fire Emblem Fortunes Weave, and Professor Layton. We've been waiting way too long for those. My favorite video game is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I know that that's an unpopular opinion, but I just love the freedom of movement. I love the scenery, especially if you're playing it on 4K like I am. I love. I mean, I can see where people are coming from when they hate Tears of the Kingdom because it is pretty repetitious at times, and its puzzles are a bit more low key than what you would expect from, like, say, Ocarina of Time's dungeons. But at the same time, Tears of the Kingdom just has this unprecedented level of player expression. And I'm not normally the type of guy that's all about, like, oh, I gotta be represented in games. But at the same time, it is really fun to see like what you can do to make the game break, and nothing ever makes it break. Especially if you're playing it on Switch 2, like it never dropped below 60 frames, which from what I heard, the Switch 1 version did that quite a lot. Oh, I know they're gonna come after me, but you know what? That's what Paulism is for. Is I'm the only me in the world. There's never gonna be another me after I die. So while I'm on this platform, I want to be the most unique person in the world. And when you're watching the Catholic Gaming Nerd, although I do plan on keeping it going with my successor after I die, so stay tuned for that whenever that happens. But as long as I'm alive, it's going to be the most me-ish thing you will ever see. Because I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. That's why I didn't do a pre-Nintendo Direct main video. I talked to you guys instead. Oh, thank you, Kevin. I really appreciate it. I used to be very self-deprecating on myself, and so um, I've definitely gotten to the point where I'm starting to recognize my strengths and recognize what I'm good at, and not talk so much about what I'm bad at, because people don't want to hear that. They want to hear the optimism. And that's what's got me out of depression, if I'm being honest. Metal Gear Solid 3 is terrible. I have never actually played that game, but I like the concept of it. You know, you're in the wilderness and trying to survive. Kind of reminds me of Breath of the Wild a little bit, but like more shooting. They announced a lot of great games recently. Yes, Spyro. I do plan on playing that once it comes to Switch 2. I played quite a lot of Spyro the Dragon when I would hang out with my friend Brittany. She had a PlayStation, and so she introduced me to both Spyro and Crash Bandicoot and Dark Cloud 2. Those are like the big three that we played a lot. The fan favorite. Okay. Spyro Eternal Night. No, can't say I did. The only Spyro games I played were, I think, 1, 3, and the Reignited trilogy. As you can probably tell, I never reviewed any of them because I am not very good at Spyro games, but I like them, and I hope that the Switch 2 version gets better. Yo, it's David. Thank you so much for being the main star of my latest video. Persona 4 Revival does actually sound pretty exciting, except that they don't have a Switch 2 release for it. So I think, unless if they were just thinking like, oh, a Direct is coming soon, so we'll just announce it then, something tells me we might have to wait a bit. But welcome in, David. What are some of your since I don't like predictions, I don't want to ask other people for predictions, but do you have any wishes for the Nintendo Direct? The only thing that I'll say here is don't entertain any rumors. Um, I'm not really a big fan of people spoiling stuff that I would have liked to just see in the moment. So if you've heard about a leak, or like, hey, guess what? Nintendo is going to be releasing X game that everyone loves, and it's going to be on this, like, don't do that. Just share what do you want based on your own thoughts, your own imagination. Just a release date for Fire Emblem Fortunes Weave? Honestly, same. You know, when I went to Comic-Con this past couple of weeks ago, all four of the people that I met were Fire Emblem actors, because I met Abby Trott, who plays Annette. Then I met Zach Aguilar. I actually re-met him. He played Byleth. Then there was Michelle Ruff, who played Robin. And then finally Stephanie Shea, who played Tharja. Nintendo will in fact direct. Well, okay. I never would have seen that one coming, Connor. You got me there. A Wish on a Star is a Fire Emblem Edition Switch 2. You know what? Honestly, I would kind of like that too. I wouldn't buy it, of course, but it would be nice if Nintendo started treating Fire Emblem as one of its, in my opinion, most user friendly franchises out there. Because Nintendo games historically have terrible options menus. And Fire Emblem games have honestly typically been the standout in that regard. You stopped following leaks. They said Switch. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you were here when I first started doing the live stream, because usually I like to start a minute before 5. But I said people were talking about Star Fox Grand Prix for like 10 years, saying it's definitely going to come. And eventually they gave up because it's just like, okay, guys, leaks at the end of the day are not formal announcements. And for all you know, if Nintendo finds out about those leaks, they might decide to cancel the project. So I don't know why people won't get the hint. I think it's just, again, I'm not going to talk too much about psychology here, but there's a certain group of people in the psychology world called the pragmatists. And those are the people that just like to play by their own rules and just do whatever they want without worrying about how it affects other people. And as a result, those of us who, how do I word this, want to be on the right side of the law, we end up losing because they're just like, I want my freedom no matter what. And then we end up being miserable. Probably see Wave 2 DLC. We haven't even seen Wave 1 DLC of Mario Kart World. So that would be interesting if we got 2 waves in one Nintendo Direct. Yeah, no, I would say that there was only one leak in the history of games that I ever actively followed, and that was when Banjo and Kazooie were rumored to be in Smash Brothers. Although, to be fair, the evidence that they presented was pretty convincing, and it ended up being correct. It ended up not only being correct, but like the way that it was proven correct was so wholesome and nice. Like Microsoft had just tweeted saying, "We love Super Smash Brothers and we respect it so much." And then they had also released a figure of Banjo holding out his hands and you could use it as a Switch holder. And people were just like, if that's not a foreshadowing of Banjo and Kazooie being in Smash, I don't know what is. Wave 2 is so good it skipped over 1. Pretty sure Fire Emblem Three Houses did the same thing, actually. Mistaking freedom for liberty is a great tragedy of our time. So what I meant by freedom is people that they don't really care about the rules and they don't really care about doing the right thing. Like the way that I've described pragmatists versus affiliatives is like pragmatists are the people that when they're in the playground, they don't want a fence surrounding them. Like if the ball goes out into the street, even if the parents say don't run out into the street, you'll get hit by a car, they'll say, so what? I need my ball. Whereas affiliative people, they like to play within the confines of the playground. So they can be like, okay, well, let's follow the rules. Let's make sure that the teachers are happy. That kind of stuff is what drives me crazy. Because you can probably guess which of the two I am. Hope we don't get another Switch 2 variant. Yeah, definitely would be a bad place to put it in a direct, especially with the price hike. Nintendo's got to really like personally, I hope that they just have like almost exclusively Switch 2 games because they really need a reason to justify that price tag at this point. You watch the Digital Circus movie. I have never actually seen that. Didn't even know what that was. But hey, you know what? That's cool that you're engaged. Maybe a new Monolith Soft game. Yeah, it would be nice to see something that they made. I don't see that. I don't see that happening at this one just because they just put out Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, Switch 2 Edition. And based on the feedback that they got from that, I think they're going to want to say, you know what, maybe we would have announced it at this direct, but let's push it back so that people don't ask for refunds from a $5 DLC. You know things are bad. when Nintendo themselves agree to give you a refund for something that only costs $5. It's only $50 increase. It's still an increase within a year of it coming out. And people might be saying, oh, well, the whole industry is suffering from chip outages. Nintendo's a multi-billion-dollar corporation with way more franchises than anyone else. Surely they can recuperate the loss from other things. And again, maybe I just don't know the business world, but I definitely hope that people aren't feeling sorry for the poor multi-billion-dollar corporation that still prices Pokemon Scarlet and Violet at $60, despite it running like terrible. So if they really wanted us to get their pity, they would like offer some kind of apology for all their mistakes instead of standing their ground. Like, I don't know, maybe like permanently slash the price of Paper Mario the Origami King so that it's only $30 instead of $60 as an apology now that they made the Thousand Year Door remake. Nintendo needs a new Shiren the Wanderer. I've been so scared of Shiren the Wanderer games because I'm not good at games that force you to start all the way over if you lose. I did beat one-shot mode in ours at the Jewel of Fairmore, though. This is a bad time for new gamers. Yeah. Except for me, though, because I'm honestly having the time of my life, because having GameFly since 2018 has helped me to play a lot of games that I never would have tried. Honestly, I don't think this channel would be as successful as it was without GameFly. Nintendo sends its Nintendo's ninjas to acquire the chips. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. I've never played Scarlet and Violet, thankfully, but I know enough to stay far away from them. You like Shiren and other Mystery Dungeon games? I've heard the Mystery Dungeon games are pretty good. They're just not my thing, because I'm not much of a big fan of, like, procedurally generated stuff, unless it's Persona 3. Because Persona 3's gameplay is so exhilarating that I put up with it, but normally those kinds of games just annoy the heck out of me. Shiren the Wanderer on the DS, I heard that was quite the comeback. Yeah, no, I knew about GameFly ever since I was subscribed to Nintendo Power, but I was very weird when I read Nintendo Power. I thought if they're advertising something, it must be terrible. And I failed to realize that how else was GameFly supposed to support itself? So now I realize that I don't really like a lot of Nintendo's decisions. And so the best way to fight against a corporation is to play their games while spending the lowest amount of money possible. And that's GameFly for me. Don't forget about when Nintendo came after Super Mario Logan. A Channel of Puppets commentary. They used Nintendo puppets and it backfired. I did not know about that. That's pretty sad. It's kind of hypocritical if you think about it, because during I think it was E3 2015, Nintendo put on a puppet show where they had like puppet versions of Iwata, Reggie, and Miyamoto, and I thought that was great. Everything else about the presentation was terrible, though. Keep in mind, this was the presentation where their big showstopper event, where they said world premiere and everything, was Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. It deserves its Metacritic score, is all I'm saying. Now, I know I already have the link for if you guys want to see me react live, but I do want to add something to that in case you're new here, and that's that I typically don't react very loudly when I do watch parties for Nintendo Directs. So if you're looking for someone who's gonna like scream and holler about the latest announcement, you're probably not going to hear that from me. You might hear it from her, but not from me. In fact, she will probably drown out my voice. But it's a tradition that whenever a Nintendo Direct comes out, either me or Miss Pagel will email each other first thing and just be like, yo, Direct time. And then we usually like to do some kind of afterglow. But if the audio is terrible, I'll just let it be on her channel and then I'll do my own thing on mine. But either way, you're going to see some kind of collab. You're going to see at least two collabs between her and me. It's kind of big time swag that Link is a Catholic Celtic warrior. Yeah, that's true. If you've seen A Link to the Past's promotional art. Nintendo is extremely protective of their IP ever since they got sued by Universal. I did not know that. That's interesting. Well, clearly it didn't work because Donkey Kong is very much still a thing and King Kong is not. Well, I typically show low key excitement when I do directs. So like I remember when Ghost Trick Phantom Detective was announced for the Switch. Now I loved Ghost Trick on the DS. I was one of the few people that did actually. It was my game of the year of 2011, even beating out Skyward Sword. And I just said, "Oh my gosh, they're actually bringing back Ghost Trick." And that was like about as excited as you got from me. But at the same time, Peggle was really endeared by that. She kept saying like, "Oh, you're just so fanboy for Ghost Trick. It's so cute because you usually are just like, oh, that's nice." And she's like, "You actually got a little bit excited." There was one time though that I broke that rule, and I just made an absolute fool of myself, and that's when Banjo and Kazooie were announced for Smash Brothers. There's actually a video on my channel called I think it's called My Reenactment to Banjo and Kazooie being announced in Smash. I even did it in like sepia tone so that it would seem like a flashback. So you can go see that if you're curious how I did it, because I wish I would have filmed that reaction. So I did a reenactment instead. Playing Donkey Kong Country again. Oh, okay, that's neat. I played Donkey Kong Country a long, long time ago. Probably not that long ago because it was through the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. But I thought it was hard, but it was still fun enough, just not the kind of game I would play without rewinds. Do you think we'll see a release date for Danganronpa 2x2? I think so. I think they'd be a fool not to release it during the summertime, considering that the game takes place on a tropical island. I think they would want to capitalize on the whole, like, let's release a game that's all about summer in the summertime, especially because there's a song in the soundtrack called Summer Salt. Or I think that's like the variation of the song. I believe the full song is Beautiful Ruin Summer Salt variant. And I just think that'll sell more copies if they capitalize on the theme of it. Like maybe they could promote like, hey, you get to wear one of the Hawaiian leis that Monokuma wears or something like that. But I'm fairly certain they will. And if they don't, they're really tone deaf. Country is a technically impressive game. Yeah. Oh, I would 100% agree. Like there's really nothing to compare it to at the time, except maybe the Humongous Entertainment games, because I feel like they really pushed the whole hand-drawn aesthetic and full voice acting in an era where that was pretty much unheard of on Nintendo's scene. So like you get games like Putt Putt Joins the Parade, which is technically older than Donkey Kong Country. Yes, that game's art style hasn't aged well. But then once they made Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, which actually I think Freddy Fish 1 actually came first, you think to yourself, like, wow, a 1990, I think it was somewhere between 94 and 96. You have full voice acting, fully animated cutscenes, and it's a kids game that actually has enough adults, not inappropriate, but like adult writing that makes it so that anyone can enjoy the games. And yours truly has reviewed every single Humongous Entertainment game on the Switch except for Backyard Baseball 97. But if they announce that Backyard Baseball remake is coming to Switch 2, you bet yours truly is going to, or at least try to review it. 1995? Yeah, I think that's when Putt Putt Saves the Zoo came out. But Putt Putt Joins the Parade was even earlier. Do you think we'll see the next 3D Mario entry? I doubt it. And if we do, I think it'll just be like, I don't know, a port of 3D Land. Because you got to remember, they had Mario Odyssey's team do Donkey Kong Bonanza. And 3D Mario games typically take a long time to come out. So I personally think that they just don't have enough time to make another one. And if they do, it's going to be one of those, again, low key types of things. Like kind of like what 3D World and Bowser's Fury did, where like it was like yes, Bowser's Fury is technically a new game, but it was like built with 3D World's engine and it's really short and it was clearly meant to like fill in the gap of 3D Mario while we waited for actually I don't think we've had a 3D Mario since then. So I had they not released Bowser's Fury, I think fans would have gotten impatient. So they said, okay, we'll tide you guys over while we work on the next big one. Tomodachi Life DLC, I wouldn't want DLC unless it's free. or cheap. You know, to be fair, I own Tomodachi Life, so if it's cheap, I probably would get it. But at this point, considering that Animal Crossing has had more success with its free DLC than with its paid, I think they'd be a fool not to capitalize on that. They announced Resident Evil Veronica. Yeah, I did hear about that. I'm not the biggest fan of Resident Evil, but mainly just because I'm not much of a horror guy. Like, besides Doki Doki Literature Club and pools, I don't really play a whole lot of games with jump scares. Yeah, codename of Resident Evil Veronica was announced at Summer Game Fest a couple of days ago. Summer Game Fest was a real snooze fest for me, but there were a few things that I was really happy about. Let me pull up my document so that I can remember them without looking like a fool in front of you guys. A couple of games that they announced that I was super happy about. Oh, wow. They don't have anything here. Spyro, Spyro's cool. The new Crazy Taxi seems cool. Super Ukulele Kart. I don't remember if that was at the Summer Game Fest or not, but that looks genuinely amazing as someone who loves ukulele. You played the Veronica story because you played the dark side. Okay, cool. I'm never a fool, except for an April fool, because I was born in April. Hello, hey girl. Glad you can make it in. We're talking quite a lot about video games, so if there's something else you want to talk about, feel free. Again, I can multitask. What's your big news, since you're probably not going to be waking up at the crack of dawn like the rest of us are and watching the Nintendo Direct? No, today's actually a Monday, but I like to get people talking when I wear it on a Monday. Off the SIGs for almost a whole month, guys. I don't normally like to do this, but since there's only 6 of us, let's do it anyway. Let's give Hey Girl a round of applause as best as you can with only typing. Just maybe don't do like Gen Z type of congratulations. Like, don't do F in the chat or any of that annoying stuff. Just some kind of congratulations is necessary. Hey girl, I'm throwing you a big celebratory party popper here. Yeah, no, we celebrate the victories over here. And if people fall, we celebrate people getting better after each fall. I don't think I'd ever heard that term, dolls, as a term of endearment. But thank you. That is, I really appreciate the community being able to rally together towards helping Hey Girl live longer. Because, hey, you live longer, you'll live long enough to see, how do I word this? I want to be the world's longest running YouTuber, and I want to, I want people to be around for the time when I inevitably will have to end this channel. And if a person dies before it's done, I hope that they can like look down from heaven and be like, dude, how is Paul still going? Assuming God lets them think about that. Doll is short for darling. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, whole month. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you feel good, hey girl. I hope that you're able to get plenty of pretzel sticks, because I've heard that for people that are trying to stay off smoking long term, pretzel sticks are a really good alternative. So, since Hey Girl is here, I don't want to exclusively talk about the Direct. So, I wanted to briefly talk about a bit of good news that I have coming up in July that I think you guys will be really happy about. And that's that just today, I got an email from the DRE of my local parish. For those of you that don't know, it stands for Director of Religious Education, meaning the person who's in charge of like the catechism classes, the youth groups, like anything that involves teaching about religion. She sent out the vacation form, or the forms for Vacation Bible School, and she said, Paul, I'll put you with the oldest kids. So yours truly gets a huge victory in the world of youth ministry. If I were a bug, you'd still like me? Oh, dang. Oh, man, that means a lot to me. Thank you. Thank you. Man, you guys are really laying it on today. I'm gonna have to feel good about myself today. So Vacation Bible School, this is my second annual time doing it with this parish. I did it quite a lot before I moved here, but what I love about it is that I actually feel like I'm making a difference. Like when I first did VBS, it was it kind of felt like I was just there to do the motions, whereas this one, I signed up to be a team leader, and I was just expecting that it would just be like the occasional clarification or something. But there were genuinely they genuinely wanted me to do some teaching. Like they'd say, okay, team leaders talk about this. And I'd be like, oh, cool, I get to do teaching. And they had a water balloon fight last year, which was super cool. No one could tell that I was wearing a swimsuit the whole time because my swim shorts like go down to my knees, and they all thought it was just shorts. My worst fear is needles, hey girls. That certainly would not happen to me. But I appreciate the suggestion. Your state exam for a boiler's license. Well, just hope it doesn't get too hot in there. You want to get involved in education at your parish. You want to spend more time learning and being formed. Okay. Well, you know what? I would say that if you want to get involved with education at a parish, but you're newly confirmed, I would say moral support is probably a really good thing that you could do. Like, say for example, you were in a class of a bunch of adults that had just gotten confirmed. You could potentially like start up a support group, or you could like talk to the DRE and say like, hey, can we have like additional Bible, like what Hey Girl just said, have more Bible study so that you can learn more than what you learned when you were confirmed. Because let me tell you, I was confirmed when I was 12, and looking back on what I knew then, I was so ignorant compared to how I am now. But I think I knew enough where I was able to actually take my confirmation seriously. And I did genuinely feel like my heart was on fire in like all the best ways possible when it happened. So I think if I wasn't ready, I don't think I would have felt that. Yes, that is true. Hey girl, I do love to do Bible studies. Hey, better late than never. Although in the Catholic tradition, we do teach that it's ideal to be baptized when you're an infant. Um, the problem is that people think that baptism is supposed to be a choice. And technically it was during Jesus's time, and I think that's what trips them up. Is they're like, well, Jesus got baptized when he was an adult, so why doesn't everyone get baptized when they're an adult? And that's because the baptism that John offered was different than the baptism that we offered. Yeah, take it steady with humility and grace. Never think that you know everything about the faith, because God is so much bigger than our human understanding. But yeah, so John preached a baptism of repentance, because back then they didn't really have like reconciliation the way that we know it. So when Jesus came into baptism, obviously John was going to be super shocked by that, because let me pause so I can read what you all said. Yeah, I'll explain that in a minute. But yeah, it is frustrating that people wait for baptism too much. A friend of yours has both parents as Catholics, and they give their son a choice to be baptized, and he has doubts. So, okay, let me try to put it in as simple of terms as possible. When Jesus came to be baptized, obviously he didn't technically need John's baptism. So you would ask then, well, why did Jesus even get baptized in the first place? He had never sinned, so he didn't need to repent of any of his sins. But then John said, well, why are you getting baptized? I should be the one getting baptized by you because I'm a sinner. You're not. You're the Lamb of God. Jesus said, let us do this to fulfill all righteousness. So clearly, Jesus' baptism was not to forgive him of his sins, but it was to transform baptism, because Jesus has quantum powers. As soon as John dipped him in that water, Jesus transformed all of the water in the universe for baptism to remove original sin and to give one the Holy Spirit. Because when Jesus was finished being baptized, it said an image like a dove appeared on him. And then a voice said, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." And the Catholic Church teaches that that is what happens to us when we receive our baptism, is all of the sin that we inherited from Adam and Eve is gone. And if you get baptized late in life, then all of your sins are forgiven. And you also receive the Holy Spirit. So essentially, it's like Pentecost is repeating itself. So if someone were to die without being baptized, that could potentially prolong them getting into heaven, because God's like, well, you know, there was still that little tiny bit of original sin that we have to cleanse. God's needs and actions are not in the same league as ours. Yeah, Jesus is not profound, or Jesus is not bound by the sacraments as we are. Rather, he uses the sacraments to come to our level. Isn't it amazing that Jesus had a cousin? Yeah, that is very amazing. It's amazing to know that Jesus had anything. Because, like, prior to the incarnation, people never would have envisioned God coming down to our level on that degree. Like, if you look at the Old Testament and the way that people referred to God back then. Good news that you have to share? Okay, I can interrupt this. Let's hear it. Someone has good news besides me. We're going to stop everything and hear it. Yeah, no, faith is very much a leap. There's a lot that we don't know. In fact, at every Mass, we say the mystery of faith, because we realize God is beyond our understanding. Too much of a meritocrat? I'm going to need an explanation of that, because I've never heard that term. Facing difficulties with your in-laws, and you prayed for strength today. You asked the Holy Virgin to send a sign of courage in a rabbit appearing where I always park. Oh, nice. That's great. My in-laws are facing difficulties, and God has provided quite a lot of signs and wonders for my family. So I think that's been really helping us get through all of this stuff. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So God is not bound by the sacraments like we are. It's possible that someone could die in a state of mortal sin, and yet God could, in his infinite mercy, come along and say, well, wait a minute. I can still save you from eternal damnation. Might take a long time, but I might be able to do it. So even though technically the church teaches that you have to be in a state of grace to enter heaven, it also teaches that God is not limited by the sacraments as we are. But it also teaches that we should not test God. So yes, even though God could potentially forgive someone who's in a state of mortal sin, we shouldn't just say, well, that just gives me permission to go and do a bunch of mortal sinning. So I'm just going to go and I'll have a deathbed confession and God will forgive me. That's called arrogance. And that in and of itself is what was the devil's downfall. And I think taking advantage of God like that is very much something he does not want entering heaven. So that's why I think if you are in a state of mortal sin, get to confession as soon as possible. God can extend his grace to whoever he pleases. Yes, that's true. Extraordinary grace versus ordinary grace. I remember learning about that when I was a kid. A friend sent a oh yes, the Saint Michael prayer. So the funny thing about Saint Michael is that he's not a saint in the traditional sense because he's an angel. But the reason why he's a saint by angel standards is because the angels were all given what was called the beatific vision, which meant that at the moment of their conception, they were told everything. And some of them chose to rebel and some of them chose to follow God. And So essentially, they were only given one choice during their entire lifetime. And because they knew everything, it couldn't be something that they could change their mind on later because they already knew better. So Satan, even though he knew everything, still thought that it was a good idea to rebel against God. And that's why Satan was condemned to hell as soon as he made that choice, because God knew that he would never change his mind, because he knew none of the other angels would ever change their minds, because they were given vastly superior intellect and reason than we were. Yes, Satan was originally an angel. He was called Lucifer, which means, I think, guardian of light or warrior of light. He actually was considered the most intelligent of all the angels. So intelligent, in fact, that his intellect was vastly superior to that of any human on Earth. And yet, despite all that, he believed that the angels are far superior to God, and that I don't actually remember all the details, but I just know that it was pride that was his downfall. So he went from being the most beautiful angel God ever created, the most intelligent angel God ever created, to the ugliest and most condemned person in the history of ever. Or I should say, being in the history of ever, because angels aren't people. They don't have bodies like we do. They are pure spirit that sometimes take a body as a temporary form, but they in and of themselves are not body creatures as we are. I think there's even a Bible verse that says that sometimes the angels are jealous of us because they would like a body, but I don't know where I heard that. I could be totally wrong. Yeah, no, pride is considered one of the seven deadly sins, and in fact has been said it's the worst of all sins. Actually, the way angels understand things is leagues above us. Yep, totality. Yep, they were given one choice. God told them everything. He said, "You can either follow me or disobey me," and so that's why we say Saint Michael, because he chose to live a life of virtue because he knew everything. Was there anybody in the Bible that was angry at God after experiencing loss? The better question is, who wasn't angry at God after experiencing loss in the Bible? Because I'm pretty sure every single person in the history of ever was. It just might not have necessarily been recorded. But like, um, I know Jonah was disappointed that God didn't rain down fire on Jericho. I don't know if that was your question, but he was mad that God wasn't going to punish a whole city. Abraham was devastated when Sarah couldn't conceive a child, so he ended up getting it on with one of his maids, and then that's like a whole other story. So I think it's natural to be angry at God after anything happens. When we have to realize we shouldn't be angry at God for stuff that happens, we should be angry at ourselves. Because more often than not, um, free will is the main result of suffering. And human choices end up having consequences that tend to be generational. Saint Michael was a warrior. Yes, he fought against Satan in the like before times. And that is why Satan is stuck in the pits of hell. Yeah, no, Satan was like the angel above all angels. He was like the big cheese, the leader. Like probably in an alternate timeline, he would have been like the equivalent of Saint Michael. After losing a dad a year and a half ago, well, you know what? I I've never lost a dad, so I'm sorry to hear that. That must be devastating. But at the same time, if God never, ever, ever took your dad, then the question would be, would your dad be better off living in this imperfect world than to be purified in heaven, where he can see all of his relatives and all the people that died before him? Because I'm sure he missed his family and his friends and all that. And I think there's a part of him that's super glad that he's able to be reunited. And I think we just have to trust that it was God's timing that he was taken at that moment. Halo campaign. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past it. But welcome in, Fire and Fiat. Guys, I met Fire and Fiat at Catholic Creator Conference. So, and Hallelujah, too, if she's still here. So if you want to hear alternative perspectives besides the ones that were already in my video, you can follow both of them. I think you can just click on their channel names from this chat if you want to go ahead and. But Fire and Fiat also did a bit of a, what's the word? Bit of a self promo to me, so thank you for that. How are you doing, by the way? I forgot what your real name was because I met so many people there, but so glad you decided to follow. Took a course on Paradise Lost. I've never actually read that book, but I heard it was pretty good. You ever think about St. Colby? Uh, I have to confess, I'm not as well versed on the saints as I probably should be as a Catholic. But I will say, I think my favorite saint, besides Saint Joseph, is Saint Carlo Acutis, because a saint that plays video games, that could be me one of these days. Paradise Lost depicts Satan in a sympathetic way as someone who is an underdog, and God was strict, rigid, and dogmatic. I mean, yes, God is strict, rigid, and dogmatic, but there's a reason for that. And that's that if he wasn't, then no one would know the difference between what's right and wrong. And I think because God knew what was best for humanity, he made all those absolutes so that people would know, okay, if we want to get to heaven the fastest way, we should trust a being who has so much knowledge of the future that he knows every possible outcome. So why Satan would think that he was somehow better than that is beyond me. Therefore, Satan must be rejected. Yeah, Satan thought that someone who didn't know every timeline could somehow be superior to that. Oh, nice to know the Protestants like Paradise Lost as well. David, if we're going too fast for you, just let me know and I can totally slow down. Because I've been told that one of my biggest strengths as a teacher, and this isn't just for religion, people also say this when I talk about psychology, that I can like take complicated terms and make them simple. So just let me know if you need a bit of a breather. Did that answer your question, David the Castle? Because I hope I didn't come across as insensitive. But in general, like I remember when I lost my grandpa, I was pretty mad at first because I was like, well, he could have lived longer had he not smoked so much. But then it got me thinking, you know what? My grandpa unfairly lost his brother in the war. And one of the last things that he said before he died was, I see my brother calling out to me. And so I think to deprive him of that family reunion would have been selfish of me. So I needed to accept that he was 89 years old when he passed away. So clearly the man deserved to be let go. Never underestimate demons. Yep. Yeah, that's true. They I must confess, one of my biggest weaknesses in life is that I tend to take the advice of demons while thinking it's the advice of God. And I think that's where a lot of my self-deprecation came from, is I would always say things like, you're a failure and you're terrible. And I've since realized that God is a God of mercy, and he's a God of justice, and he's a God of love. And so if he does say like, hey, you need to do better, he says it in a loving way, not in a condemning way. So if you hear a voice in your head that says, oh, you're never going to go to heaven because you're this terrible, rotten sinner, you can automatically know that it's not from God, because God would say something like, hey, my mercy is so great that I can forgive you of this sin and get you to heaven anyway. That's what God would say if you were a terrible, rotten sinner, which you wouldn't be. You would be a sinner in need of God's mercy like the rest of us. Your Catholic friends can't stand Protestants. Spiritual plus intellectual. Yeah, it is complicated to follow Protestant ideology because they use a lot of like terminology that isn't explicitly said in the Bible. Like they believe in two doctrines called sola fide and sola scriptura, which means faith alone and Bible alone. Technically, not every Protestant believes in faith alone. That's more like the extremists. But My question is, where does it say in the Bible that you have to believe that? There's actually a lot of things that they profess to be true that aren't in the Bible, while still claiming that everything that they believe has to be from the Bible. Like altar calls are a big thing for Protestants, even though nowhere in the Bible does it talk about altar calls. Nowhere in the Bible does it talk about Bible studies. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that the minister of a wedding has to say, by the power vested in me by God. In fact, I don't think anything in a Protestant wedding is in the Bible besides just the man and the wife are married. So there's just way too much that their claims don't hold up to scrutiny. You feel the same way? You beat myself? Yeah, same here. I've definitely been haunted by the past. So I would say that I went to a life confession a couple of weeks ago, and that really helped me to get over the past and just be like, it happened, and you're here now, and you're in the best timeline right now. So just be happy for what you do have, and don't beat yourself up for mistakes of the past, because those mistakes made you stronger. But yeah, it's easy to say that now, but it was an incredible journey to get there. But what if you love the truth first and adhere to the truth? Is that still pride? Because you know so much, you might be a discerning and discriminating person. So, the way that I would say it, and this could be potentially biased towards my psychological disposition, but I would say that I would never want to claim that the truth is based on my own discovery, that it's based on what simply is, that was presented to me at a level that I can comprehend. So, yes, there are certain parts of the Catholic faith that I don't understand. But if it's true, if I can prove that there is authority within the Catholic Church's magisterium and the bishops and the Pope, then why does it matter if I understand it or not? If it's true. Like, do I understand how gravity works? No, but that doesn't make gravity not true. That's basically how I would describe it. Pride would be like, I know everything. I got this, guys. I don't need all your seminars and I don't need all your books because I'm an expert. It would be like someone like me saying, oh, I don't need to learn any more about psychology because I'm an expert. Like, no, there's plenty that I could learn about psychology. The solas are five in total. Oh goodness. I'll get to you in a minute, Jevel. I just want to make sure I'm meeting everyone here because there's way more people than I'm used to here. The way they interpret scripture and fide are largely universal. Yeah. If you ever go to a Byzantine, you know what? I did go to a Byzantine rite when I was a kid. I sang at the choir there, and it was amazing. I really hope I can do that. Oh, well, I don't know about Smash Brothers, Jevel, but I am very excited about tomorrow. I would definitely be I would say of a big first party Nintendo franchise that I'm excited about or would want to see. That's a good question. I'd love to see Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright get a port because Nintendo was involved in publishing the North American version. So who knows? Let's say you learn from mistakes and avoid certain people because you don't want to be associated with chaos. I've been called proud and harsh. Is that correct? There are verses in the Bible that talk about the necessity of keeping good company. But at the same time, Jesus ate with tax collectors and sinners. And during his time, that those were considered like the worst of people. So I would say, like, if people are so arrogant that they don't want to hear anything that you have to say because they think they know the truth, then there is a Bible verse that says, like, shake the dust off of your feet and move on. But I would also say don't think, oh, I'm so much better than these people, so I shouldn't hang out with them when we're all sinners. So we really don't deserve to be in the company of anyone because, sure, we may not do the same sins as everyone else, but we still do sins regardless. And a sin is a sin. Hopefully I'm answering this correctly because, like, again, I'm not used to this many of you guys being here. Authority was the word whispered to you from the black sky when you were going through a severe spiritual work. That probably could be talking about papal authority. Because that's what I always say when I talk about, like, what I believe is true, is I say, I do not have the authority to say what's right and wrong. The church does. So I subject myself to papal and magisterial authority before I submit to my own intelligence. Could just be because of my personality type, but I personally think that's what God wants. I put it this way to a friend once: to be Catholic, you must be willing to be a peasant. Yep. That's why the Franciscans wear brown robes, because it's the color of dirt. And Dominicans wear black because it's the color of ashes. And St. Francis supposedly put ashes on his food because he wanted to be like that humble. Best friend IRL apostatized last year. Stop talking to him because I know that his abandoning of the church would harm you in the big picture. It is difficult to cut off a friend. Yeah, there's Bible verses that talk about like try to reach out to people that don't listen, but at the same time, like, it's after extreme measures. I'm pretty sure the verse that's coming to mind is where Jesus says, like, if they do not listen to the church, then treat them as a Gentile or tax collector. And then it also says, like, shake the dust off of your feet and move on. But something that I heard recently that really gives me hope is they say, well, Jesus treated the tax collectors and the sinners as people that he wanted to have a conversation with. So sure, we may shake the dust off of our feet, but we're still going to pray for them. We're still going to be there for them. We're still going to support them as best as we can with what we do have. As long as it is not ego pride, you are good. So the thing about pride in the Catholic Church is it basically just means we never want to think that we're better than anyone, and we never want to think that we know everything. Because again, we all have problems. And if you're wondering why I'm fidgeting so much, it's because the sun keeps shifting and I want to make sure I'm not getting a sunburn. Sure, we could point at someone else and say, oh, wow, this person is so messed up. I'll never be like that. When God could easily say, oh, yeah? Well, you have all these other problems. So who are you to judge this person? There's a Bible verse that says, don't point out a twig in someone else's eye when you have a log in your own, which basically just means we're all sinners. So stop condemning until you yourself have freed yourself from sin. Oh, yeah, I know that it's difficult to cut off a friend because I've only cut off like maybe 2 or 3 in my life. But those people just were unwilling to listen to anything that I had to say and would repeatedly encroach on my boundaries. So that's when I just said, okay, I got to protect myself to a certain degree. You try your best to not be a hypocrite or a user or lazy. Yeah, it's good to have boundaries, but it's also good to remember that Jesus did his fair amount of saying woe to you statements. And he would say things like, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees and scribes, then you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. So clearly, he's demanding some kind of separation, but at the same time, he also acknowledged credit where credit is due, because he also said, do whatever the Pharisees teach you, just don't do what they do. So he acknowledged their authority, but he didn't acknowledge that their lifestyle was good. That tax collector line, knowing when that comes is hard. You know what? Honestly, if you're confused about anything, just pray. Like, pray that maybe the catechism will come to you, or pray that there's like a good source somewhere that'll interpret the catechism. I've heard Catholic Answers is a really good resource, so you might want to consider trying that one out. Yeah, I'm Irish, so I definitely burn pretty easily. Do I think that wanting simplicity and peace is bad? Nope. I think that's actually a good thing, and I think that's what most of the saints want. So I think you're on the right track. Pray for the best, prepare for what troubles come. The way that I see troubles from my perspective is they're just another step in the process towards you appreciating eternity. Because I think, had I not suffered as much as I did, I don't think I would truly love God as much as I do. If God was just good to me all my life, I don't think I would have appreciated how good he was to me after I got out of a bad time. And knowing that pretty much every problem I've ever gone through was solved by someone or something involved with the church, has kind of helped me love God more. It's kind of like the film Inside Out, where, sorry if I spoil this, guys, but it's relevant to the plot here. The final message of Inside Out is you can't have joy without sadness. And I think that's true for God. Um, if God didn't allow us to go through sadness, we wouldn't appreciate the joy that comes from Him delivering us from our sadness. If anything, I think that that's what God does even more, is God's sole purpose in all of creation was to deliver us from our sins and to be with us forever. And I think there's a line that Jesus said that I think really makes me think that God is a God that uses suffering as a means of helping us. And that's that He said, whoever is in need of a physician, or whoever is well does not need a physician. I came not to call the righteous, but the sinners. And it said that he would reach out to the poorest of the poor, and he would heal the afflictions. And those were the people that were the most grateful for him. The people that had everything, like the Pharisees and the rich people, they would go away feeling sad, because Jesus would say, no, 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 no. You need to get rid of all that joy, and you need to embrace the simplistic life to follow me. You need to take up your cross and follow me. In Chinese culture, the light, dark, yin, yang are a major part of human experience. Exactly. My life has been a series of yin yang, if I'm being honest. Sadness makes you feel the emotion, and joy is like the healing of the sadness. Exactly, Jevel, you get it. That is why I really loved the Catholic Creator Conference, because I was able to return to the place where I had that conference when I was in high school. And that was, yes, that place that I went to in high school, it was the place where I devoted my life to Christ, for lack of a better word, because it was a very complicated thing that I said to him that day. But it was meant to be a healing journey of saying, like, I've come so far in God's graces since high school that now when I return to this Franciscan University of Steubenville, it can be for a joyous time. And honestly, I think I had more fun just revisiting the sites than I did at the actual conference. I know, hot take, but just for me, you're taking away from me when I'm being nostalgic than anything else. Okay, but I really appreciate you guys having all these conversations with each other. Really, we can find for true. We say Holy Mary, Blessed Mary, but not divine, because she was 100% human. Our saints and scholars had many good things to say about the scholars and philosophers in China. Cool. In Inside Out 2, anxiety comes from an imbalance of emotion, because in the end, all the emotions band together control anxiety. That's true. I should watch Inside Out 2 again. Thank you for telling me about that, Jevel. Oh, thank you, Connor. I really appreciate that. Hey, you know what? There are plenty of people that follow me that aren't Catholic. And I would like to say that this channel thrives on implicit Catholicism, whereas these streams are more so the explicit Catholicism. But there have been a lot of people that have said that they've learned a lot from the Catholicism. And even if I post something that is like so implicit that no one would ever guess that it's Catholic, it's been a starter for deeper conversations. Like, I won't name names besides Hey Girl, because she's flat out said it in these streams. But there was at least one follower of mine who started talking to me after just seeing me. She just saw some list videos where I talked about games that I loved. And then that got to us talking about spirituality more. So who knows? Maybe the fact that I got her hooked on something that's not evil, but not explicitly Catholic, was what was going to lead to explicit Catholicism. I wasn't the one that called you knowledgeable, but you were referring to Hey Girl Net, right? Technically, I would say that the only people that I find knowledgeable are the magisterium. People that just happen to know a lot, I would say, are just the people that researched. You like people who are detail oriented. I have a proof text ability. Okay, not sure I'm getting that phrase in context. So would you care to rephrase that? But yes, that is true. I'm all about the details. I'm too detail oriented at my jobs. Like I think that's what I'm honestly surprised I lasted at most of my jobs as long as I did, because it was always on the little details that I'd be caught up and be like, should I be doing this or not? We're gonna get Hey Girl to the altar. We very well. I've definitely had that feeling that it'll happen someday. I could be wrong because gut feelings have never been my forte, but at the same time, like usually when I do have a gut feeling that's explicitly spiritual, it ends up coming true. I remember there was one time that I had a friend of mine, and you guys all know her. She's been in like so many of my videos. My friend Danielle. She and I knew each other for a very long time. And every time she would introduce me to one of her boyfriends, I'd be pretty critical of him. And then when she finally started dating the man who eventually became her husband, I I said, "Oh, he's a keeper. You guys are probably going to get married pretty soon." And they did. So, one of the few times I actually had an intuitive moment, and it was again, marriage we see as a very beautiful and very God-oriented sacrament. It's just that way too many people nowadays think of marriage in like the sense of the wedding and not in the sense of what marriage actually is. So I think they get too caught up on the details like, oh, let's get the venue just right. Let's get the dresses just right. Let's get the Bible verses just right. And we need to remember that at the end of the day, marriage isn't about the celebration. It's about the union of two people that are going to bring about new life. And that's why it's called a sacrament of communion, not a sacrament of exclusivity. Proof text is being able to recall the specific references from scripture or religious study. Yeah, that's true. I usually I can recall Bible verses pretty easily. Pride toward knowledge is bad, but pride towards humanity, it is different because you are caring not just about one person. Yes, there's a type of good pride. Like you want to be proud of like say your status in like being a child of God. You want to be proud of like the good things that you've done, but pride in the bad sense is thinking that you're better than everyone else. Like, sure, you could argue, like, oh, this person lives a really holy life and this person doesn't, but you still don't live a 100% holy life. If you did, you wouldn't be on this earth, you'd be in heaven. So, pride that God discourages is putting others down for the sake of your own self righteousness. They say hurricanes last for 40 days in the heat. Weathering those, I'm not too good on abstraction, but I think what you're saying is sometimes it takes a long time to recognize where God is there in the midst of our suffering. Seeking knowledge and truth, very NT mindset there, if you know psychology. All three of your used clocks stop. Yeah, that is a pretty interesting story, hey girl. That was very fascinating. I'm not 100% sure what the symbolism is there, but if I had to guess, I think it's probably a Trinitarian reference because he said there's three of them, and there's three persons in one God in the Trinity. Is there a Discord? I wish. I was kicked out of Discord for reasons that I still have no clue about. I tried reaching out to Discord support; they couldn't help me. Um, if there's a way to get some kind of Discord, I'll announce it one way or another. But at present, I just don't really know how to do that. If you guys want to like just start conversations in my videos, that's totally cool by that. And these live streams, I'm going to post them pretty frequently. So You got options. It's just maybe a bit more of a workaround. Well, good for you, hey girl. I'm glad that that moment gave you peace. Not using personality types, and it is okay if you don't use it. Um, I would say that if you don't want to use personality types, that's fine. But some of us have a hard time with people reading, like me, for example. So I use personality types not as a way to stereotype people, but to understand. Like, for example, um, say you're say you're going to Japan. You would want to know what the culture is like so that you would know what to say that wouldn't be offensive to them. Like if you studied Japanese, you would know that they don't like it when you say, "Can I have a takeout?" Because they have, from my perspective, it seems like arrogance. They say, "Well, we have cooked our food so specifically to your stomach that we don't think you could possibly be full until you finished our meal." Here in America, we realize that people's stomachs are just widely different from each other. So, personality type to me, and again, you don't have to agree with this, it's not in the catechism, but I use personality types as a way of trying to hurt people's feelings as little as possible. So if I know that this person takes things personally because of this personality type, then I can say, okay, well now I won't say that. Now I know what to do to make that person feel better. And if you're good at like expressing your boundaries without a personality type, cool. But not everyone is that self-aware. And so usually if the person is not good at explaining what their likes and dislikes are, then personality type is just a way of like filling in the blanks without the person needing to say anything. I must have shed light on the citizens of Discord. This was before all that started going about. So I guess you could more accurately call it foreshadowing. I would never say typology is a pigeonhole. I would say the people that say that are the people that don't understand typology. It's just a general pattern. Like, sure, psychology will say that they're abstract and concrete people, but you can't be one or the other exclusively. Like, if I would, like, I would be considered a concrete person because I talk more about tangible stuff than I do abstraction. But if I wasn't abstract at all, I wouldn't be able to, like, hypothetically, I wouldn't be able to look at Hey Girl's name and say, oh, Hey Girl's one of my subscribers. And we've done Bible studies together. See, that was an intuitive connection that I just made. Because just looking at Hey Girl by itself it would just be letters. And I wouldn't be able to put those letters together and make a conclusion based on that. So, in the same way, people who are classified as thinking types are also going to be emotional, and people that are emotional are also going to have logical moments. So, it's more so a pattern than an absolute. Oh, I'm glad that I was able to be helpful to you. I don't know if height would be something I compare to typology, but um, if you know your type, you can also know your weaknesses, and then you can know how to be a better person to other people. Like once I learned that I was stubborn and not being very innovative and not easygoing, it helped me to appeal to people that were easygoing, and now they're some of my best friends as a result. But thank you, Hey Girl. I really appreciate you saying that. Distinguishing traits outwardly and cognitive functions are no different. I'll have to think about that because I've never heard it phrased like that. Can you say something about Star Wars? Absolutely. Revenge of the Sith is your favorite Star Wars. Mine too, actually. um, I like Revenge of the Sith because it has the best lightsaber battles and the story just seems like it's more fully realized. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you kind of have to infer in the original trilogy, whereas Revenge of the Sith does a lot more just flat out spelling things out. There is a Norm Macdonald joke about psychology and professors of logic. Interesting. I would never say that I'm a professor of logic. Like, I think people say that I'm really logical, but I'm definitely going to prioritize nostalgia and familiarity over logic. Like, you get me to like when I was at Franciscan University of Steubenville, I was way more interested in revisiting all those old places than thinking what is the most logical thing to do right now. Like, I probably could have just taken a really long nap and recharged my energy, and that would have been the logical thing to do. But the idea of being able to revisit all those iconic locations where my high school conference was, that overtook my logic. So that's why we have a cognitive function stack, is in general, if you're given a choice between being this or that, you'll choose the this. You like the original trilogy too, but it was the first Star Wars movie you watched in high school? Good first movie to start with. ROTS? What's ROTS? Oh, Revenge of the Sith. Sorry, I don't do abbreviations all that much. I'd have to think about if Revenge of the Sith is biblical, because from what I heard, George Lucas was actually making fun of Jesus in that film, or George Bush, one or both of them. The Renaissance paintings that Revenge of the Sith imitates. Interesting. I never thought of Anakin as an anti. Well, I guess now that you mention it, that is kind of true, because he was born of a virgin. He was supposed to be the savior of all of the Jedi, and he ended up being the downfall. But at the same time, like at the end of Return of the Jedi, he did end up saving the future of the Jedi. So in a manner of speaking, he fulfilled the prophecy just many years late. Lucas and his team have many frames that imitate those paintings. Interesting. That's cool. Where would you find all those? Oh, thanks a bunch for showing up. Hey, girl. Hope you have a great rest of your evening. And thanks again for that announcement about the quitting cigarettes for a month. Hello, Yosh. I could have sworn I've heard of you from somewhere, but I'm drawing a blank right now. But glad you could be here. Are you excited about the Nintendo Direct? If you're not, is there anything that you're excited about or anything that's going on that's great? But either way, welcome in. We promote a lot of interrupting here on this channel. So if you're ever not interested in what the group is talking about, please, please, please feel free to interject whenever you want. My regulars do it all the time, and I encourage it because we want everyone to feel welcomed here. You doubt it was Jesus. Lucas is a Christian, and the Bible is a major influence in Star Wars. Interesting. Yeah, okay, George. Okay, that's fair. I don't know much about politics, but I have heard that he was very anti-George Bush. Anakin is a messiah who failed and had to be redeemed. Yeah, that sounds about right now that you mention it. If you can use ego toward your advantage, then that's good, but surrendering to ego is bad. Mace Windu used the dark side without surrendering to the dark side. Interesting. I never thought of it that way, but that's a really good point. Yeah, because a purple lightsaber is both blue and red, because blue is the color of the Jedi and red's the color of the Sith. Huh. Very nice, Jevel. Very nice. A new 3D Mario game gets announced. Well, I was saying this earlier before you showed up. Since Donkey Kong Bonanza was made by the core 3D Mario team, I think the likely scenario, if we're going to get a 3D Mario, is it's going to be like something like Bowser's Fury, where it's more of like a test demo than it is going to be a full-fledged new game. Because, like, yes, Bowser's Fury I do consider a new mainland 3D Mario game. But at the same time, I don't think most people did. They considered it an extension to 3D World because it used the same engine and it was short. But it was filling the void of like, okay, the last 3D Mario game was Super Mario Odyssey. Hurry it up. So we will see if they have been able to catch their breath since Donkey Kong Bonanza. Has there been a game that you wanted to play but goes against your Catholic teachings? Good question. I'll have to think about that. Yeah, let me do some thinking about that. Mace Windu taps into rage and enmity in a way that no other Jedi could really do. Yeah, that's true. Hopefully there's Metroid news. Yes, we definitely need that. Even though I'm not a Metroid fan, I can recognize that Metroid Prime 4 did not do the fans any favors. Welcome in, RFC Shows. Another name that I'm not too familiar with. welcome in. If you're excited about the Nintendo Direct, feel free to blab about it. If not, we like to encourage good news and encouragement on this channel. So if there's anything you're excited about, anything that happened in your life that was exciting, I'd love to hear about it. We encourage a lot of interrupting, a lot of talking over each other here. So if you're ever just like overwhelmed by if you're ever just overwhelmed by what everyone else is talking about, feel free to talk about something else. I'll get to it one way or another. His style used his enemy's darkness against him, tiring him but strengthening him. He could fight demons and win. Yeah, because he fought Palpatine with his own Sith lightning. That's true. Yeah, and they also did release the Galaxy remasters. Oh, I love the Galaxy remasters. Maybe you remember me from YouTube comments. Yeah, that vaguely does sound familiar. But what you also have to remember is that I have over 6,000 subscribers. And most of them don't comment a whole lot. So usually, like, when they do comment, it'll be like a couple of times in like 2022, and then I'll never hear from them again. So it's typically only in these live streams that I have like regular commenters. And then the people that comment on my vid, like nowadays I've been getting more regular, like David and Kevin, like they'll comment a decent amount, but even my memory has limits. But now that you mention it, let me look up your channel and let me see if I can remember what I watched, and then maybe I can plug it to everyone else. By the way, if you guys want to plug yourselves, go for it. You are totally welcome to say like, "Oh, hey, would you care to follow me on this?" Like, as long as you don't post a link. Huh. I think you must have done some renovating to your channel, Yash, because I didn't watch that one video on your channel. Yeah, you must have either taken it down or YouTube isn't showing it to me, or you're a different Yash than the one I'm thinking of. But either way, welcome in. Glad you could make it. Windu defeated Palpatine and won, but Anakin interrupted him. He was an angelic warrior, but his pride and blindness to the Sith ended him. Yeah, that's true. You always wanted to see a series of Mace Windu learning to control his dark side. Yeah, that would be cool. I probably wouldn't watch it, though, because it seems like Star Wars has been on a bit of a downward streak lately. Everyone please pray for me. You had to be brave while also restrained today in confronting your fiancé's family on their approval of birth control. Yeah, I'll definitely... It can be hard to keep track of everyone that I'm praying for, but I will try my best to pray for that, because that does seem like that would be quite a... that does seem like that would be quite a hard topic to talk about. I can definitely admit that there have been times where I'm not the best at being confrontational with people that like aren't my friends. I tend to be the type of person that prefers to talk things out calmly and gently, as opposed to just being forceful. I used to be very forceful, and I learned it didn't get good results. So I learned that a gentle touch is usually what people need. I must be thinking of someone else? Maybe. But yeah, I know I wouldn't have watched that one video on your channel because as someone who likes videos about Nintendo games, they use a lot of SpongeBob memes. And so I just kind of don't like SpongeBob memes anymore as a result. Like the amount of times I've heard people say, "Oh, brother, this guy stinks." It's just like, okay, I'm tired of hearing it. Do something more creative. Like maybe do a meme from Zero Escape or something that like not every single person has done. Oh, you're welcome. Glad I could help, or at least try to. Speaking of Revenge of the Sith, you're taking a college class in VR and learning Unity. The next project you are working... Oh, cool! Hey, keep me posted on that. I'd love to see that. Well, confronting is the word you chose because of YouTube character limits. Okay, gotcha. Well, you can always... you know what I do? Because I like to say long sentences when I talk to people in streams, when I go to other people's streams. So usually what I'll do is I'll like put in abbreviations, I'll do parentheses to be continued or TBC. And usually that's their way of knowing that I couldn't finish what I was saying. You pray for all the viewers who watch your stream who may or may not have problems, but just in case, heal them and give them your blessing. You stream, Jevil? I don't think either that or you misspelled something, but that's cool if that is the case that you do stream. Oh, you're saying that's what you want me to say. Oh, I see. Okay. Sorry about that. I pray for all the viewers who watch my stream. Yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh, you got Zero Time Dilemma. Very, very nice. Very nice. I hope you enjoy that game as much as I did. Speaking of Zero Time Dilemma, I wanted to ask you. I also have a novelization of that game. I can't say the name of the novelization because that is a bit of a spoiler, but I would be curious if you would want to read that after you play the game, or if you want to read it before you play the game and just be like, oh, dang, this is Paul's director's cut interpretation of it, and it makes more sense than the game itself. At least that was my idea when I wrote it, because it's no secret that Zero Time Dilemma almost didn't happen. It was thanks to the fans that made Operation Bluebird that after Virtues as Rewards sold so horribly, the fans were like, well, those of us that did buy the game really liked it, that Kotaro Uchikoshi changed his mind. He said he's going to give it to us. Would reading before it be fine? It would give you part of the story, because without spoiling stuff, it's from one character's perspective that you don't really get a whole lot of in the actual game. So, like, you'd get a summary of everything else that happened. It's more so meant to be like a director's cut. Like, okay, what were some of the unanswered questions that Uchikoshi promised he would answer that didn't get answered in the game? Maybe I have an answer. And a lot of my answers were based on like interviews that he did outside of the games where he said like, yeah, I can approve of that being canon in the games, and I wish I would have put that in there. So I would say it's up to you. It's like, it does have some of the escape room solutions, though. Whatever escape rooms that character was in, it does contain the solutions to those as a mini strategy guide. So I would say it oh my gosh, we're at 11 now. Ooh, I hope I can keep up with everyone. I'm not used to this many people. Besides a 3D Mario game, you would like a new Mario baseball game. So would I. What are we talking about? We are talking about Zero Time Dilemma. I wrote a novelization for Zero Time Dilemma, and it's free. So if you ever are interested in checking it out, just look up Joseph Davidson on Archive of Our Own. You can get a free novelization of Zero Time Dilemma. The goal was to make it as close to a director's cut as possible so that I could hand it to Uchikoshi and say, this is the game you wanted to make all along, isn't it? Without all the, while trying to like make it relatively PG-13. You really like this series so far? Okay, cool. Part of your favorite part of beating a game is seeing others' opinions. Okay, I see. Well, that's fair. I do know of people that read my novelization before they played the games, and they really liked it quite a lot. And the people that did play the game, I think they did end up saying, like, yeah, I think we really liked how you explained some things that were left up for interpretation. Like, a lot of people didn't like how Zero Time Dilemma ended. And so I decided that I didn't want to delete the intended ending, but I like expanded on it. Because again, pretty much unanimously, people will say like, yeah, Zero Time Dilemma had a terrible ending, and I'll be like, it ain't terrible anymore. This is how I'm gonna end it. And I'm pretty sure it's what Uchikoshi wanted to do but couldn't, because again, almost didn't happen. Any new games from first party publisher? Oh yeah, I would love to see more first party stuff. Like, there's probably some obscure Nintendo game I played a long time ago that I'm forgetting about. Another code game would be great. I'm a bigger fan than the creator. Yes, that is true. Yes, I do think I'm a bigger fan than Uchikoshi. Um, Fire Emblem is the biggest thing that comes to my mind. Punch Out would be nice. Hmm. Let me get back to your question earlier, David. When you said, was there a game I wanted to play but couldn't because of Catholicism? Hmm. I wasn't a big fan of Chibi Robo on the GameCube. Maybe if they like fixed the pacing, I'd probably like a new one, but I highly doubt that'll happen because after Ziplash came out, I'm pretty sure like the producer said like if this doesn't do well, we're shutting down the whole franchise. And then that company proceeded to like completely tear down the building. So I think they might have just killed the series with Ziplash because there hasn't been any talk of a new one since then. The closest we've ever gotten is Chibi Robo representation in Smash, and Chibi Robo is now on Switch 2 through online backward compatibility. Ooh, that is a good question. What game have I not played because of my faith? Hmm. I would say that I can't think of a game that I wasn't able to play, but I can think of moments in games that I might have wanted to do, but my Catholic faith prevented me. And that's if there was anything that was explicitly pornographic, like I'm not saying I like pornographic stuff or that I am defending it. Far from it. I think pornography is terrible, and I think it should be illegal. But at the same time, I feel like I am the type of person that I feel like I could handle porn more than the average guy could, but I don't think that's allowed in my faith. So I remember when I was playing Danganronpa V3, I had heard that some of the love hotels were pretty interesting, but yet I never actually played the love hotel scenes because I realized that that's probably just porn or erotic stuff waiting to happen. Um, Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls, that game was something that I originally wanted to play. But I remember I was watching a streamer. Jevil knows this person. Pegasus Angel was streaming the game. And at first I was really into it. But then I remember that there was a part of her stream. I didn't get that far, but like I was watching one of her more recent streams and she said like, "Yeah, I had to delist one of my videos in my Ultra Despair Girls video because I ended up crying and thought it was too inappropriate." So I thought, well, this is her we're talking about, and she tends to get emotional about things that don't affect me. So how bad can it be? And then I looked up a summary, and I'm like, oh my, that is pretty terrible. So I'm not gonna play Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls mainly because the appeal of Danganronpa to me is the mystery aspect of it. Most of the morality is terrible in that series. And if it weren't for the fact that I liked the mystery and just the overall theme of like what Danganronpa is going towards, and like how I actually used Danganronpa as a way of cheering up my sister-in-law one time when she was really upset. Like I basically quoted a line from Makoto and I said we have to think like that. Yep, you know exactly what I'm talking about, Jevil. Definitely not. It's something that I wish I could wipe my brain clean of. Didn't last Nintendo Direct they announced a fight? Yeah, um, Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave still doesn't have a release date. Danganronpa 2x2 release date? Yeah, I think that's one thing I can be 99% confident in. I mean, if it weren't for it being at this Direct, they probably would have announced it at Summer Game Fest. So I think they wanted to give Nintendo fans something special. Have I watched Higurashi? Um, no. But to be fair, I'm pretty uncultured. So like I don't watch a whole lot of anime and I don't watch a whole lot of TV in general. And I typically don't play a whole lot of visual novels that are mostly visual novels. Like Ace Attorney, for example. That's a visual novel, but it's in a courtroom. So like you're presenting evidence and you're like trying to make a case. So yes, there's a lot of reading, but you're actually doing something in the gameplay to influence the reading. And but then you get games like pretty much anything Annapurna Interactive makes, and it's like 90% reading. But then again, you get games like Zero Escape where yes, it's like 80% reading, but there's also quite a lot of escape rooms. And when you do read, paying attention to the dialogue, which David, you would know is how you know what to do in the AB rooms. That's how you know what to do to get the best endings, is by being like, okay, these characters are like, what they're saying is contributing to the gameplay. Whereas, like, if it's just a visual novel for the sake of being a visual novel, then I would say, why didn't you just make a movie? Visual novels that justify their existence of being games are the ones that I would like. If I like Danganronpa, I would enjoy the anime or game of Higurashi. We will see. You played Ultra Despair Girls in 2019. Had no idea, but yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff in Ultra Despair Girls that I didn't like. But there were two scenes in particular that just really made me uncomfortable. And I said, I refuse to ever review this game if it comes out on a Nintendo system. Because even though I think I could probably handle it, it makes me uncomfortable. And again, I don't think my faith would allow it. And besides, it's mostly a shooter. So I don't like shooters anyway. So there you go. So far, a game that haven't got a game that very popular first party for the opener. They could give us a new Kirby 2D game, a new 3D Mario game. Again, if they have enough time to make a new 3D Mario. They could just get another team, for all I know. But will they get another team is the question. I certainly wouldn't have been lost. I knew very well what they were trying to do, and I did not appreciate it even from an artistic perspective. Every original Smash character already got a new game minus F-Zero. Yeah, I would like a new F-Zero, actually. I probably wouldn't be good at it. I am awful at F-Zero, but I'd like it at the very least. You wish Mother 3 was officially released? You know, I've heard that has quite a bit of controversy to it, and Nintendo just does not want to deal with it. And that's why they put it on Nintendo Classics in Japan, but not in America. So, yay to misread your audience, Nintendo. You are really tone deaf at times. Every time there's a lull in this conversation, I'm thinking about that question of if there's an entire game that I won't play just because of my Catholic faith. Huh. I know for a while I was concerned about playing Persona 4 Revival, but I'm thinking maybe if I like avert my eyes during a certain scene that I'm thinking of, I think I might be okay. I think it just depends on the overall message and what the game is trying to say. I'm gonna have to give it a long thought, because like with Persona 5, the reason why I think that was okay is because it was discouraging all this bad behavior. Sure, people who were weak in their faith could see all the imagery of the first palace and like get turned on or addicted by like all the sexual imagery. But if you're like me, where you despise all that stuff, it helps you despise it more. And you realize like, oh shoot, we really need to pray for these people, and we really need to like get them hospitalized or whatever to get them out of society and stop hitting on underage people or anyone in general. For instance, you knew a lot of kids who couldn't play Pokemon or watch Harry Potter. I used to be afraid of watching Harry Potter, even though my parents never actually said that. They never said, like, oh, you can't watch Harry Potter because it's witchcraft. If anything, my parents watched Harry Potter and they liked it. I was the one that was too stubborn. But eventually I saw that my brother was watching it in the living room, and I said, all right, I'll give it a try. And I ended up loving it. And now I'm one of the biggest Harry Potter defenders in the world. Deathly Hallows is my favorite book ever at this point. And I've often used it as a way of getting people closer to God on Catholic mission trips for that. And I even know some people at Catholic Creator Conference that said, hey, we want to follow your channel just because of all your insights you have about Harry Potter and the Catholic faith. Sex scenes invading video games has been a disaster. Yeah, I don't really like playing games that have sex scenes. I probably could handle them, but I don't want to. Like, I feel like, obviously in sex ed, you know how sex is supposed to be, but everyone decides to approach sex differently. And so I would just like to reserve all of that for if I ever have a future wife, which at this point looks highly unlikely. But if it ever happens, I want to be able to say to her, I never watched a sex scene. I never intentionally looked at any of that, so that this could feel like an experience tailor made to you and me that can never be replicated. That's what I want to eventually say to her if she exists. Don't worry, there's a reason why the dungeon is like that. Okay. Yeah, there you go. That's the answer. No, I stand corrected. I was gonna say Grand Theft Auto. I don't. No, actually, no. No, I stand corrected. I did actually want to play Grand Theft Auto for a while. It's just that I can't guarantee that, like, as I'm roaming around the big open world, I wouldn't, like, I don't know, see some kind of prostitute or something like that. Like, I like open world games and I like exploring, but I just do not like any of the stuff that the people in Grand Theft Auto do. And so I don't think it would be a good idea for me to play that kind of game. That new Cuphead game looks good. You know, um, I might give that a try because I do technically own the original Cuphead. I just am not good at it. Harry's choice in Deathly Hallows was Christ-like. Yes, exactly. That's what I have said to many, many people. I've also said that the scene where he finds, I'm not sure how much I want to spoil, but there's a scene where he finds something that he's been looking for, and his reaction to it is almost as if he's seeing the crucifix. And then everything Harry has to do to get that object just feels like a detachment from sin type of deal. Plus, there's the fact that there are 2 explicit Bible verses in one chapter. And those Bible verses are, where your heart is, there your treasure will be also, and the last enemy to be destroyed is death. And there's even like a whole conversation that Harry has about like living beyond death. And the portal between the Muggle world and the Wizarding world is King's Cross, which of course would mean that Jesus' sacrifice on the cross is the portal between our world and heavenly reality. Someone just unliked the stream. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yes, it was the SOG. Yes, it was. I made a whole Facebook note about it, and yet it is lost media now because Facebook is stupid. Yes, Rowling is a Christian. That's true, because Hedwig was named after a saint. Could be others, but I just haven't researched any. Just got another unlike. Okay. Well, getting into Harry Potter is going to do that for you. You know what? I find it so cool that, like, it seems like there's been a complete I will warn you, those videos haven't aged very well. So it's called Harry Potter and the Catholic Faith. I think it might even just be called Deathly Hallows and the Catholic Faith, because I am such a fanboy of that book. It is one of my absolute oldest videos, so yeah, just prepare for a lot of cringe and a lot of space heater and a lot of no filter. But I think it's nice that the paradigm shift around Harry Potter is like completely different than it was many, many years ago. I think people are finally starting to just separate the art from the artist. And now all I hear from people that don't like Harry Potter nowadays is just, oh, the TV show is going to ruin the books because it's just so unfaithful to what Rowling wrote. Whereas, like, you were to say that 3 years ago, and people would have vastly different things to say about the universe. And it's like, it's about darn time you guys moved on. And you can just appreciate Harry Potter for what it is and love it as much as I do. And proudly wear a Harry Potter to the t shirt at the gym and be willing to start conversations because of it. You just laughed when you saw that weapon. Laughter from that particular scene that Connor abbreviated. Certainly, what? Oh, because of what Harry has to do to get it. Yeah, I can see why that would be funny. Oh, someone else just disliked bomb the stream. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But you know what? If people can't handle a Catholic liking Harry Potter, then I would say those people probably haven't read Harry Potter. I think most people that hate on Harry Potter are the people that don't read the whole thing. Because like if you actually read the books and you look at like what they're trying to teach and the overall message, there's really a lot of undertones about like the power of love and how important friendship is, and like Dumbledore's whole character is all about he's always talking about the importance of like humility and compassion and mercy. Your previous message, Evel. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I wasn't paying too much attention to that Cuphead trailer because I think I like had to go to dinner at that time, so I was like, okay, let's take a bit of a pause on it. So we'll see if it ends up not being too stupid hard. Maybe I'll give it a try. But I think I'm gonna end it here, guys, because my throat is parched. But thank you so much for all of you coming in. I think we got a new record for most concurrent viewers at a time. Good timing, Connor, because I gotta head out too. Um, yeah, we hit 11 concurrent viewers, which I think my previous record was 10. So thank you, Grayly32, aka Connor. Thank you, Jevel. Thank you, Lodo, aka David. Hey Girl was here earlier, so thank you, Hey Girl. Baltazar Gonzalez. Oh my gosh. I hope that person was able to say everything. The Yash, thank you for coming in. Kevin was here earlier. Hallelujah came in. RFC shows. Dang, you got a lot of people in my streams lately that just say one thing and then never talk again. Huh. Okay. Well, at least I have a whole lot of regulars to make up for it. Oh, Fire and Fiat. Almost forgot that. Thank you, Fire and Fiat. David the Castle. Thank you for coming in. All right, we're good. All right, you guys have a good one. Thank you so much for those of you that showed your true colors and dislike bombed this stream just because I mentioned Harry Potter. You all have a wonderful day, and remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye.